For 11 unforgettable years, Happy Days was more than a sitcom. It was America's comfort zone, a warm and familiar home where family, friendship, and hope never faded, and where the Cunninghams felt less like characters and more like relatives who visited every Tuesday night. But in 1984, that world came to an emotional end with a moment so powerful that ABC executives tried to stop it from airing. A moment creator Gary Marshall called the most personal line he had ever written, a moment Tom Bosley delivered with the weight of an entire generation on his shoulders. By the time the final season arrived, the magic was fading, ratings were dipping, and after countless episodes, cast changes, and shifting storylines, Marshall knew the show couldn't go on forever. He wanted to end on something real, something honest, something that didn't chase ratings but instead honored the millions who had grown up with the show. In the finale titled Passages, Joni and Chachi married. Fonzie found redemption through unexpected fatherhood, and the family gathered one last time in the living room that had become one of the most iconic sets in television history. But Marshall wanted more than a wedding. He wanted a goodbye, not between characters, but between the show and the audience. That's when he wrote the now legendary moment where Tom Bosley, as Howard Cunningham, turned to the camera, broke television's sacred fourth wall, and said, "Thank you all for being part of our family, to Happy Days." ABC executives hated it. They worried it would break the illusion and ruin the show's legacy. But Marshall refused to let the series end without gratitude, and after a fight, the line stayed. When it aired on May 8, 1984, viewers cried, critics praised it, and rival networks acknowledged the emotional perfection of that farewell. But the perfection didn't last, because just weeks later, ABC made a decision that would undo everything, a decision viewers still call the moment the network killed its own show. Earlier that year, ABC's Winter Olympics coverage had knocked Happy Days off the schedule for nearly 2 weeks, leaving several completed episodes unaired. Instead of delaying the finale, the network wanted it and made to boost ratings for summer sweeps, and that choice created a scheduling disaster. The leftover episodes had no place to go. Instead of scrapping them, ABC decided to air them after the finale, a television sin that shattered the emotional closure Marshall had fought for. Fans who had cried with Bosley's final thank you were stunned when, only a month later, Happy Days suddenly reappeared with new episodes, as if the goodbye had never happened. Newspapers called it television vandalism. Critics compared it to resurrecting a character after their funeral. Audiences felt cheated, and no one felt the damage more deeply than Henry Winkler. To the world, he was the Fonz, the coolest guy on television, the man with a perfect grin and a magic snap that could start a jukebox. But behind that leather jacket was an actor who had spent years trapped by the role that made him famous. Winkler had arrived in Los Angeles in 1973 with almost no money, no home, and only a dream of landing a single TV role. When he auditioned for Happy Days, the character of Fonzie wasn't meant to be the show's star. He was supposed to be background comic relief, a side character with a few lines. But Winkler transformed him. He gave the Fonz depth, emotion, and vulnerability, qualities the script never asked for but desperately needed. The producers immediately saw the spark, and soon America did too. By the mid-1970s, Fonzie had become a cultural phenomenon. His face was on lunchboxes, toys, posters, and t-shirts. Kids copied his hairstyle. His leather jacket eventually ended up in the Smithsonian. Yet fame came with a price. Casting directors didn't want Henry Winkler. They wanted Fonzie, and only Fonzie. The role that made him a superstar also locked him inside a creative box. When Happy Days ended, he expected freedom, but instead he felt lost. He stopped getting acting roles, fell into financial fear, and battled self-doubt. The silence after the finale was deafening. He directed small projects, produced MacGyver, and slowly rebuilt his life. Years later, roles in Scream, Arrested Development, and finally Barry, which won him an Emmy in 2018, proved that behind the Fonz's cool grin was an actor of incredible range. But even after all that success, Winkler admitted one thing still hurt: the way the finale had been undone by ABC's leftover episodes. Fans weren't the only ones betrayed. Gary Marshall himself was devastated. For him, Happy Days wasn't just entertainment. It was a love letter to the innocence of the 1950s, to family values, and to an America that believed in warmth over cynicism. He fought ABC for creative control throughout the finale process, insisting that the show deserved a heartfelt ending, not a forced punchline. He fought for Bosley's direct-to-camera thank you. He fought to give the audience closure. And when ABC aired 5 unaired episodes after the finale, Marshall felt the network had destroyed everything he had built. He later said, "They buried the ending I fought for." Those 5 episodes, now known as the 5 episodes of death, aired between June and September 1984. The first, "So How Was Your Weekend?" showed the Cunninghams smiling casually in their living room, as if the emotional goodbye never happened. Then came Low Notes, School Dazed, Good News/Bad News, and finally Fonzie's Spots, the last episode ever broadcast. In it, Fonzie tries to join Howard's Leopard Lodge and gets humiliated by Potsy in a childish initiation prank. No family moment, no goodbye, nothing meaningful. That became the last image of Happy Days, replacing Bosley's heartfelt farewell. Fans were furious. Critics said ABC had committed finale sabotage. And for the cast, it was a painful epilogue. Ron Howard, who had played Richie Cunningham since he was 19, took the messy ending as a sign to chase creative independence. He went on to become one of Hollywood's most legendary directors, eventually winning an Oscar for A Beautiful Mind. Marion Ross continued acting for decades, beloved by fans who still quoted her final line, "Thank you for being part of our family." Tom Bosley, whose 2010 death shook millions, became forever remembered as America's television father, the man who thanked the nation. Erin Moran's fate was far more heartbreaking. Struggling after the show, unable to find steady work, she passed away in 2017, a tragedy that reminded the world how quickly fame can fade. And through all of this, Henry Winkler carried the heaviest emotional weight, forever marked by the role that lifted him up and the finale that betrayed the closure he and fans had earned. In the end, Happy Days didn't end the way it should have. It ended twice, once beautifully and once poorly. One ending made America cry, the other made America confused. And decades later, fans still ask the same question: which ending do you remember, the heartfelt farewell or the chaotic afterthought?